Sorry!
Remote driving system activated.
Wait! Which side of the road is it?
For God's sake, just drive.
Okay, calm down. Woo! Let's go! Hey, look at your suit. You've been taking bullets, charging it up with kinetic energy.
Put around the truck. Ready, go!
You show off.
And that's a clip from Black Panther. I'm delighted to say I've been joined by one of its stars, Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita, hello, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. Tell us about your extraordinary character and tell us about Black Panther and this extraordinary story which is being told for the first time in a big picture.
Well, I play Nakia, who is an undercover spy for Wakanda. Wakanda is a fictitious African nation that has kept to itself. It's isolated, it's secret, and it is the one African nation that was never colonized. And as such, they've been able to advance in ways that people are unaware of. So anyway, I am a spy that goes out into the world, observes, and reports back to Wakanda. And I also have Nakia also has a complicated past with T'Challa, who is the Black Panther and the king of Wakanda.
You're a street fighter, really. Which of the martial arts that you looked as though you needed quite a few, but what are the skills you needed for Nakia here?
Well, because she is one, because her job entails travel and all that, we wanted her to feel influenced by a bunch of different martial arts. So my fighting had influences of capoeira, silat, jiu-jitsu, judo, stuff like that. And then she's also by any means necessary kind of girl. So I had to learn how to use firearms and the signature ring blades, which are her particular weapons from Wakanda.
Was there some kind of boot camp that you all went to get all these skills? I mean, I know you've done martial arts for a while, but was there some kind of special camp that you needed to go to just to get right up to scratch on this?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've dabbled with martial arts all my life, but I'm an eternal beginner. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not, a pro in any of them. So we got to Atlanta where we were filming 6 weeks before we started filming and started working with the stunt team then. We would, all of us, there was tons of us who had to fight in this film. So we would warm up together and then break off into our individual techniques. And what's, I think, so satisfying about this film is that you learn a lot about character even through the way they fight. So the way Nakia fights is very different from the way the Dora Milaje fight, Okoye, which is a lot more graceful, and the lines are just wider and different. So yeah, it's really cool to see that distinction.
When you first talked to the director, Ryan Coogler, about this, and he talked you through the story and through your character, what did he say? What was it that hooked you in?
What hooked me, first of all, I felt like he was telling quite a radical story, and I was surprised that it was a superhero film, and I was surprised that Marvel had greenlit it. And I asked him, and he was like, yeah, I mean, we're crossing our fingers and just hoping we get to make this film as I envision it. And he really did. With regards to Nakia in particular, he wanted her to be definitely a love interest, but not your typical love interest. So, she is more than just the man who's pursuing her or the man she's pursuing, She has her own agenda, she has her own drive and ambition, and we see that. So it was a refreshing take on that aspect of storytelling, The romantic story kind of takes... It's more in the background than it is in the fore, because Wakanda has a lot to deal with, and she's part and parcel of what Wakanda has to deal with and what the future will look like for Wakanda. And I just thought it was really refreshing to have that kind of love interest who affects the narrative so directly,
And when you said it was you were surprised it was a superhero film and you were surprised it being green-lit and because it was so radical. Is that what you were talking about, or was it the political radical side of things? What was the radical nature of the film that particularly stood out?
Well, I think the film is just very honest about a lot of Pan-African issues. It's a film that honors the past in terms of African culture and historical context, but it also offers a future. We see a country in Wakanda that has figured out that the way forward is to allow all its citizens to realize their full potential. So women stand alongside men and are allowed to assume positions of power, and their assuming of those positions of power don't diminish or threaten the men in their lives. And so you see kind of an idyllic society in terms of gender relations, and that's so refreshing. That image, it's something that becomes that much easier to imagine to be possible in the world we live in. Yeah, and just the issues of what borders mean, all of that. The film is so layered, it's so deep actually, and it's like allegorical, it's folkloric, it's mythological, it's like a new kind of mythology really that we're offering the world in the Black Panther story.
And the success of the film, I think, is that it not only is not just is all the things that you've just said, but it's a Marvel film. It's very much a Marvel film with all of that history. It ties completely into this 52-year-old comic book story, and that's an astonishing achievement, really.
Yeah, it really is. And, the very fact that the Black Panther was born of the civil rights movement and came into being then just speaks of the radical nature of it is in its very origins, And Marvel honored that and has allowed for this particular part of the universe to stand on its own, have its own rules and its own identity. So I think Marvel does a really good job of that with all his superheroes. Each one fills a different, almost a different genre within the superhero genre. And it's really a remarkable thing because it does have that kind of reach. I mean, Marvel is appealing to the masses. And so the fact that this story gets to go around the globe and that it's made of such strong and deep stuff, I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's what you dream to be a part of, something that is popular but also extremely meaningful.
There aren't many times I think you go to a movie and sit there thinking, actually, I don't think I've seen this before. It does really feel like a moment. It does feel like a landmark film. Did it feel like that when you were making it, or were you too engrossed and too hopeful for the future?
Well, when you're making a film, you can't really think about how it's what role it's gonna play in the bigger world. You could think about that before you start and even after, but it's kind of dangerous to think about that as you work, because when you're working, my responsibility is to advocate for Nakia, And so that was my focus. I know Ryan will say the same thing. You have to just totally deafen yourself to all the pressures and all the meaning that it could have in the larger world and just tell the story frame by frame. But, there were definitely moments when I was just overcome with just how rare and special the moment that what we were making was. And one of those moments was we were filming the Warrior Falls, the coronation of the king, and we were it was the main cast and a whole lot of extras, hundreds of extras on this cliff of the waterfalls. And it was between takes and we were just waiting around, and the drummers in the scene started just drumming to bide the time, and they were drumming to Snoop Doggy Dogg's Drop It Like It's Hot. And before you know it, everybody was riffing with them and we were all singing along and we all knew it. And I looked around and I realized this is a film about Pan-Africanism and it's being made by Pan-Africans, The film is so diverse in terms of the African cast. We had people from South Africa and Zimbabwe, Uganda, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, Germany, the UK, America, Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, and that was just the cast, and I don't know whether that was by design, but, the fact that it took a Pan-African cast to tell a Pan-African story, I mean, it's just unprecedented, and I just got goosebumps in that moment, and we were all united by Black Panther, but also by Snoop Doggy Dogg, the power of popular culture, that's it, that we can share in that experience, and Black Panther offers another opportunity for all of us to gut into the cinema and experience this mythology together, and it's a reconditioning of the subconscious mind, and that is where real change happens.
I certainly think it was, as far as I'm concerned, the most African film I've seen in the mainstream, though I would mention David Oyelowo was on the show a couple of years back for Queen of Katwe, and you're in that, of course, as well. And that was blazing a trail, I think, that film.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I mean, it felt like it, and that's why I signed up for it. I'm obviously attracted to stories that really demystify what it means to be African and really puts it on the African context on a global scale, and this is no exception. I mean, this is the exception.
Yeah.
Black Panther, because it does that in a way, and there was so much research that went into the look and the feel of it. It feels so futuristic, but really it is a film that really honors and pays homage to real African cultures. Ruth Carter, the costume designer, she pulled from real ancient African cultures that are unfortunately dying. And what this film does is that it brings them to light in such a special way and makes them, it shows us, because Wakanda is a country that was never colonized, never interrupted by that assault, there's identity, their relationship with their ancient traditions is modern, and we see the way in which those cultures are modernized and how they are preserved, not in a way that keeps them archival, but it's actually practical. We see tradition and modernity. It's like the modernity of those traditions, and that's such a rich image and a key one for those of us of African descent to look at and ponder on. That progress does not mean dismissing of tradition.
Sure, I guess a number of people will come. They'll walk out of the cinema thinking, what took so long?
I think that's a question for Marvel, really. But
Yes,
I think,
fair enough.
I think Marvel was building its canon and its place. And, Kevin Feige, I think he spoke about this. And it's now that Marvel has the platform that it has, the audience that it has, the captive audience that it has, that this film is able to make the impact that it is making. It could have happened sooner, but I'm very happy it's happening now.
Lupita Nyong'o, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate that very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.